do section 9.4, page 471, exercise 17, which reads, evaluate the improper integral or state that it diverges. And for number 17, we have the integral from 1 to infinity of x times e to the negative 2x dx. One thing we've been learning in this section is that we can't have plus or minus infinity in our limits of integration. And the first definition gives us a way to deal with this. We are going to have the limit as b goes to infinity of the integral from 1 to b of x times e to the minus 2x dx. Now, I think we're going to have to use parts to evaluate this integral. So we're going to let u be equal to x and dv be equal to e to the minus 2x dx. So du is going to be equal to dx. And when we take the antiderivative of e to the minus 2x, I'm going to get negative a half times e to the minus 2x. And we're just going to leave this over here. And we're going to rewrite our integral, and it's going to be the limit as b goes to infinity. And when we apply parts, the first thing we write is uv. So that's going to give us negative x over 2 times e to the negative 2x evaluated from 1 to b minus now the integral of v du. So we're going to have a negative a half that we're going to bring out, and then we're going to have the integral from 1 to b of e to the minus 2x dx. And now we're going to have to evaluate that second integral. And in the process of doing that, I'm going to move my e to the negative 2x's to the denominator because I suspect that's going to make it easier to evaluate the limit as b goes to infinity. So this is going to give me still the limit as b goes to infinity. I'm not going to change anything here except it's going to be negative x over 2 times 1 over e to the 2x evaluated from 1 to b. I'm going to have a factor of plus a half here. And then when I take the antiderivative of this, I'm going to end up with negative a half times e to the negative 2x, which, as I said, I'm going to move to the denominator, and I have to evaluate that from 1 to b. Well, now we can just substitute in our limits of integration. So I'm still going to have the limit as b goes to infinity of, I'm going to pull out a negative 1/2 here, and then I'm going to have b over e to the 2b minus 1 over e squared. I'm going to pull out my negative a quarter from the second term, and I'm going to have 1 over e to the 2b minus 1 over e squared. And then as I substitute in my limit as b goes to infinity, both this term and this term are going to go to 0. So this is going to give me negative a half plus this negative sign here, so actually it's going to be positive a half times e to the negative 2 plus a quarter times e to the negative 2, or I'm going to have 3/4 times e to the negative 2.